How are you guys doing tonight? It's kind of cloudy here. I'm wondering if some people might feel isolated or left out or uncomfortable. I can definitely sympathize. I've been there before. And I'm kind of still there, just in a different way from before. There's all kinds of ways to start down the path. To find your way back home. Mine definitely didn't start with the Torah. I mean, at least not when I got serious. I mostly started with a deep-seated terror, a fear of my own mortality. And then after a while, I'm not sure which really came first, but also fear for the rest of the world. When I thought the beginning of 2020 was going to be the real beginning of the end for people, at least most of them anyway. That was the first time in my life where I really wholeheartedly started praying, like quite often, just begging for mercy. Mostly for other people. Because was as proud and ungrateful and as much of an abomination as I was for most of my life. I at least always realized that as bad as things, got sometimes, I always had a great deal of mercy. And the really bad times didn't last too long, only as long as they had to get me to wake up. And there was always some helping hand to give me what I needed at the time. So after a really stressful year, before 2020 happened, like from like early 2019 until COVID started. I think I finally kind of got most of the horrible, stressful things, at least for that period of time. I felt like I was in a comfortable place. I knew I was in better shape than 99% of the world. Or I shouldn't say that. I was in better shape than 99% of the first world, like Western countries, as far as being able to weather whatever was going to happen. So once I realized that, and finally got over the panic of realizing that, another firearm or another 1,000 rounds of ammunition wasn't going to help me to survive another day. The things really get crazy. Guy can only shoot so many guns. I really started thinking about it. Like, if things really did get super nuts, I was really not looking forward to the prospect of having to make that hard choice. That was one of the things I definitely prayed for myself. Guns are just a tool, though. just like food and money. They're not really real though. It's just an excuse in creation to facilitate life and death and allow people to either do good or do evil. A person can, like I said, they can find their way back in lots of different ways. I don't think there's any better jump start than sheer terror. And being humbled. But to really see, to experience the not just the fear, but the awe and wonder and presence in your own life. I'm not sure if there's at least that I'm personally aware of. I'm not sure if there's anything better than just constantly focusing whenever you can, on every moment, whenever it comes into your mind, every act. To always be aware that everything every fraction of a second in the smallest observable instance, what the Talmud calls I think it's a rega. It's like a moment, like I think it's something like 124th of a second or something like that. But that's a little too precise for most people to see. But to focus on every act that a person does and acknowledge that it all is how everything goes is all up to him. And to just focus on asking for a person's thoughts and acts to be guided, like whether you're running through a burning street with people shooting at you, or whether you're cutting slippery hard vegetables with a very sharp knife. or whether you're lifting weights or ratcheting down some load with a rusty old chain and a janky Chinese made come along. Just ask, please, for the cable to hold and not snap and cut your head off. Or to something as simple and seemingly harmless or not dangerous as pulling weeds. Yeet to you too, Luke. Hopefully we can all not get yeeted. At least not how most people think about it. Everyone gets yeeted in the end. Just not by a gat. I learned a while back that from Rabbi Earl Reuven that if a person doesn't have a source for whatever they say, it's not Torah. It's just their own opinion. It's just words. Once a person gets past that first initial step of trying to become closer, trying to humble themselves, they really need to follow the guidebook if they're going to get very far. Good place I found was Mishlei, Proverbs. One, I mean, I've always known that the English translations of Torah leave out a whole lot, but person doesn't really begin to realize until they learn a few words. Proverbs 1:1. The Proverbs of Shlomo ben David. Malachi Yisrael. To know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding, to receive the instruction of wisdom, justice, judgment, and equity. Most of the translations I've seen so far, the word instruction in English is from the Hebrew Musar. It's a lot more specific than instruction, at least as far as I have been taught. It's like commonly referred to in terms of like rebuke, or like how to live. And in kind of the process of refining a person's character, which is midot. That's plural. The singular for a character trait is midah. To give prudence to the simple, to the young man knowledge and discretion. A wise man will hear and will increase learning, and a man of understanding shall attain to wise counsels. To understand a proverb and a figure, the words of the wise and their riddles. So it's stuff like this where it really helps to have a side-by-side translation with commentary. Rashi is a good place to start. Words of the wise. Divrei Chachamim. The het is difficult for me to pronounce. I was once arrogant enough to think I could pronounce it accurately. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. I'm not sure if that's the only definition of a fool in the Torah. I've finally gotten over that part, at least for the most part, anyway. I read a few different translations of like most of Proverbs 1. Safaria has a little like annotation by some of the translated words that you can click on to like expand to see like different variations of how a word is translated. And another translation had one on the word beginning in Proverbs 1:7. I said others translate as the best part of knowledge rather than the beginning. I looked at the Hebrew word. I guess I should start with the beginning of this. It's Irat is fear, and my Hebrew is not very proficient, but I'm pretty sure Irat is might be one of those two-word or two-letter roots. I'm not sure, but most things having to do with like fear and evil are spelled with resh and ain. Ra, but Irat is spelled with Yud Resh Aleph Tet or no Taf, and I think Resh and Aleph is has to do with like sight or seeing. I'm not sure though. Don't quote me on that. That's definitely not Torah. I don't have any sources. But the word for beginning is Rashit, like Bereshit, in the beginning. But the Hebrew is such an in-depth, complex language. Rashit means much more than the beginning. It's like the origin point or the head. The peak. So best part is probably just as accurate as beginning, but really neither is wholly accurate. Because there's just so much in a Hebrew word. like the sages say, toil in it and toil in it because everything is in it. Down to every word and every letter, every curve, every number, and every sound. If a person doesn't see, and if they don't have fear, then they can't have knowledge. And they're not open to Musar and Chokmah. Because they're too proud. They think that everything is random. Or even if they don't, even if they acknowledge that things aren't random, they still don't acknowledge why they're not, where that pattern comes from. Where all the source of blessings and curses originate from. In the beginning, at the apex, in that single point. But is almost imperceptibly small, and yet fills and creates all space. Verse 8 is going to be pretty hard for a lot of people, at least in the ways of the Torah. My son, hear the instruction of thy father, and do not forsake the Torah of thy mother. A lot of people that knew didn't have the best success of passing down what they learned. And a few people never did. Or at least didn't listen to what little comparably that there was at the time. And it only got worse from there. So now if you don't, if a person doesn't have a good solid source of instruction of Musar from their father, and they don't have Torah from their mother, they have to go and search it out on their own. And there's multiple reasons for that. One is that everything has a purpose. To drive as many people to learn and teach as they can, especially the Jews, whose job it is to do this, do that, to teach, to be a light to the nations. But most of the Ravs with Yirat Shamayim and as best a grasp of truth as a person can find in this world, kind of have their hands full trying to save their brothers that they're obligated to save. The other part is some people may just not have the merit to get a lot of assistance with whatever they're supposed to do and learn. But that's one of the many purposes of technology, is to be able to facilitate the spreading of the Torah. So unless a person lives in some remote island or the middle of the jungle or the desert where there's no internet connection, they probably know what a Jew is, and they've probably at least seen observant people. How observant is, another thing. Unfortunately, most of the most of the rabbis in the era of Mashiach are Erev Rav. So that's really difficult for some people to tell what the truth is. That's another hurdle that people have to get over, or another challenge, another test. Because people know in their hearts. If they really search deep down, when something is too good to be true. Another dead giveaway is anytime you see one of those one of those one of those teachers on any kind of secular or atheist or absolutely corrupted media channel or newspaper or website. If you know anything about decency, let alone anything about the Torah, that those places are completely antithetical. Most of them in Israel outright outright mock the Torah most of the time, and observant people. Or they'll put out these fake pieces of it's real, but it's like to the unaware, it will look like they're promoting religion, but they'll only do stuff like that to things where it makes observant Jews look bad. For they shall be a graceful garland for thy head, and chains about thy neck. My son, if sinners entice thee, do not consent. If they say, come with us, let us lie in wait for blood, let us lurk for the innocent without cause. Let us swallow them up alive like Sheol, and whole like those who go down into the pit. That's a lot more than being a highway bandit or a murderer. That's one of the things about the Noahide laws. There's way more than 7, and the common renderings of English translation are wholly incomplete to the totality of obligations, especially when it comes to bloodshed. I haven't done a very in-depth reading on that, but I'm pretty sure it's not murder, it's bloodshed, and every word in the Torah is chosen very, very precisely. Anytime there's a different word used, or anytime a word or a phrase is repeated, the person has to pay very close attention and find out what is being said and why. My Ravs, Rabbi Yoel Reuben and Alon Anava and Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi have all taught that bloodshed isn't just stabbing somebody or shooting them. It's what a person says. A person's words shed blood. And if a person goes a little deeper, it's also a person's words or their acts that cause another person to lose money because money is bloods, plural. Dam, like it's Dalit Mem is blood. Damim is plural. That's what one of the words that is used for a person's like wealth or their income. Maybe income's not the right word, but like the wealth that they've acquired. It's their damim. A goy might find it pretty harsh that the judgment for violating any of the laws is the death penalty. Especially when they learn that they're obligated for the death penalty for stealing as little as I think it's called a puta, commonly referred to as a penny now in like modern conversion rates, whatever whatever fake money's worth these days. There's no Sanhedrin anymore, so you don't have to worry about the handsome men chopping your head off. At least not for the laws. As far as a man wanting to enact retribution, at least, widespread. And even when there was a Sanhedrin, they really didn't execute too many people, Jews or Goyim. Jews with a decent level of Yirat Shamayim. They know that judgment is and vengeance is not theirs. And even when there was a Sanhedrin and they did execute people, it was also a heavenly death penalty. As harsh as the laws might seem for the Goyim, all a Jew has to do is light a fire on a certain time. They get stoned to death. Or almost every execution for the Goyim is decapitation. The only exceptions, I think, are when a Goy has forbidden relations to either a betrothed or a married Jewish woman. Which, in that case, is strangling. I think there's a difference in the execution if it's a betrothed or actually consummated marriage. But I can't recall what it is. Well, there's decapitation, strangulation, stoning, and burning. I can't recall if there's another one, another method of execution. That's one way the sages reason out the not only reincarnation, but also the sins that a person committed in their past life is how they died. Because if they didn't commit those acts in this life, and they were burned, or they were strangled, or they were crushed, then it must be that they committed those in their previous life, or one of them. Because everything is measure for measure. It's getting kind of late. What do you guys think? Oh, thank you. The last verse that I read from Mishle 1:12. Let us swallow them up alive like Sheol, and whole like those who go down into the pit. A lot of people take those comment or the words in the English translation as absolutely literal and in isolation, which is a huge error. I could be wrong about this specific verse, but I think it's a good likelihood. And something that I just learned watching Rabbi Yaron Rubin's last lecture on Jewish Hashkafa, which is like ideology. Thankfully, a goy in his one of his last Ask the Rabbi or Stump the Rabbi lectures asked if it was okay if non-Jews watch the Jewish Hashkafa series, and he said it's not just Jewish ideology. It's basically it's Musar for everyone. So I hadn't been watching those, but since I got the okay, I figured I'd start watching those too. And he talked about how in Shemot in Exodus when when Koach and the 250 basically like 250 head rabbis, like a huge chunk of the leadership and teachers after the Exodus, all basically squared off with Moshe and thought that he was being corrupt and doing things for his own reasons, and God opened up a hole in the ground and swallowed them whole. Moshe asked that Master of the Universe, if you haven't created, if you didn't create Gehinnom in Bereshit, then please do it now. And if you did, then bring wherever it is, bring it here to swallow all these Rishaim, to show all Israel once and for all that these are wicked people and that Gehinnom is real. But it's not that hell is under the earth. That's just an opening in this world. I said that every month on Rosh Chodesh, on the new moon, every month it returns to that same spot where it swallowed Koach and his followers, and a hole opens up and it steams and smokes, and then it disappears again to wherever hidden place God keeps it. Gehinnom is in the upper worlds. I'm not exactly sure where, but it's definitely not under the earth. And Satan definitely was not banished from heaven. He's not fighting God. He's God's creation. The Satan is just a robot. That's all an angel is. They have no free will. They're created with a very set, specific set of codes of how to operate. And all they do is exactly what they were programmed for, what they were created for, and nothing more. Whether for good or for evil. The Satan exists as a tool, a hurdle for people to overcome so that they have the merit to earn Gan Eden. Because if they don't earn it, the person's definitely not going there. And even if they merit Gan Eden or a place in the world to come, it doesn't mean that they won't have to spend time in Gehinnom. Hopefully we can all do everything we possibly can, not only to have the merit to earn our reward, but to not see Gehinnom, and so that we may help others to do the same with a great deal of his help.